This conference will now be recorded.
How's that? Pretty
Dave, we
good.
can hear you now. Can you
All
hear us?
right. Technology. Lovely. Can you see me?
Well, no, we can't see you. You're just still a red. Now we
No.
can. There you go.
There we go.
Now we got you.
That's always famous, that mug.
Very good.
Infamous, maybe.
Dave, we were wondering, you might be the only one on the call, and it wasn't for lack of trying. We got the message out.
Yep.
But you might be an audience of one, but we're going to go ahead and give you the dog and pony because we're recording it. And
Okay.
so we'll have the recording. So later on, if people want to kind of watch and see the presentation, we can do that.
Go ahead. Very good.
I think we'll give it a few more minutes here. Some other
Okay.
people on. I think we've got Whitney on the line with you. I think that's her. WLCC. Yep. So we'll wait a couple minutes.
Well, I think I see Brad.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
Dave.
it's Brad. Bob Koopman with PEC is here.
Hello,
And
Bob.
get your last name.
Fundus, Jason Fundus with
Jason
PEC.
Fundus with PEC.
All right. You guys know Sam Shellhorn?
We
Yes,
do.
we do.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell Sam you said that.
Sam's a good guy. Yep. Good guy.
He is a very nice guy.
Yeah.
I like talking to him about all the different things he's done in his life.
Yeah. No, he's been quite on a circuitous journey, I guess you'd say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I played golf with him this summer at a BOMA conference. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We go out, we probably see each other twice a year or so.
Okay. Yeah, he's a real nice guy.
In fact, I think I told him, I said, I think you need to call Mike at City of DeSoto because PEC hasn't done a whole lot in the community, I don't believe.
Is this your
Might
first
be
project here?
No, I
Yeah,
think way back.
recently, we're trying.
Yeah, good.
When I first started, it was MKEC that, did you buy MKEC out?
Here's, when I moved here 30 years ago, it was Mid-Kansas,
Kansas, yeah.
and the Topeka office was a branch of Mid-Kansas out of Wichita.
Right.
About a year later, John White and Jim Martin
Yeah.
outright purchased it, and they became White Martin.
Yeah.
And then they were White Martin for about 5 years, and then both of them kind of developed health problems.
Yeah.
And so that's when they sold their company to
Okay.
PEC.
It was during that time somewhere they did a water master plan for us.
Okay.
And actually, if you look at, and Dave knows, Dave was a mayor for 12 years, between like 2000 and 2012.
Yeah.
And during that time, we just had the burning issue was water source. We had our own little water plant and the Sunflower Army Ammunition.
Yep, I remember
water
coming
plant
out
there.
looking at both of them.
Yeah, and it was, gosh, what are we gonna do long term, or do we just buy water from Olathe? And it was just a gut wrenching decision. It just took years. But if you look at those recommendations that they did back in '99, we did them all.
Uh-huh.
We decided we're just gonna go out here and fix up the sunflower water plant, and that'll be our source.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all done now. So
Yeah, there
took
was,
20 years.
as I was told, there was a lot of water rights out at the sunflower
Yeah,
plant. It
yeah.
just wasn't, there's just some other issues out there.
Talk about a circuitous route. That's another
Yeah,
one.
right. That's right.
Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started then.
Okay.
Dave, Dave, you know Whitney, she's online with us too.
Okay, I don't know that I do. Hi, Whitney.
Oh,
Hi, Whitney.
sorry.
Hi, Dave.
Whitney Lang, she started about a year ago with us as our public information person.
Oh, yeah.
When was the last time you were at City Hall, Dave? It's probably been.
Yeah, so I promised Rick I'd stay the heck out. So yeah, I probably Brad, I don't know, 8 months ago,
Right.
pre-COVID for sure.
So Whitney's on the line with us. She's been the one helping us getting information out to neighbors and doing the door hangers, things like that. And
Right.
she'll be taking. So what, first thing on our agenda here is kind of an opening remarks and summation. Essentially, what this is a sidewalk project that's funded partly with CDBG funding. It's supposed to be a 2020 project, but we've been delayed several months. We're going to be constructing this next season, probably next spring sometime. Part of the discussion, how to get a sidewalk from essentially, we want to connect to Ottawa Street from the existing sidewalk along 82nd Street to make a full connection to Wyandotte. And trying to decide whether to go on the north side or the south side. We took the layouts that PEC provided, some cost estimates to the council, went over some options with them, and the council really wanted a thorough public engagement, kind of neighborhood involvement process to go on with that to get neighborhood input on which they would prefer, and then take that input back to the council for a final decision that likely will happen the first meeting in January.
Okay.
And so what we did is we arranged this meeting tonight. Whitney distributed an online survey. So I might just, Whitney, let you describe just the feedback we've got. Hadn't been a whole lot, but the feedback we've gotten so far, if you want to do that, Whitney.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to know the feedback of the people who live directly on 82nd Street. So about 30 houses or so. So like Mike said, we dropped off about 30 door hangers in both English and Spanish, and we sent letters to roughly 45 people. That would be about 30 residents who live there currently, and then maybe 15 or more so owners, so whether they were landlords or something, just to get the people who live there, but also the people who own the property for the future. On the letter in the door hanger, we went through what the project was, where people could leave feedback, the pros of being on each side of the sidewalk or each side of the street, and then some sidewalk details, like how much it costs, how wide it would be. And then on the back, we showed actual concept plans on how the sidewalk would go through each side of the street's property. So people could actually see their house on the picture and go, oh, that's where it would go through. On the survey, like Mike said, we had about 5 responses. The first question asks, how strongly would you approve of the sidewalk on either side of the street? So not which one would you approve on, but do you have a preference either way, or how do you feel on each side? And out of the 5 people, 2 people said they absolutely strongly disapprove of it being on the north side. And 1 person said, and I don't care either way if it's on the north side, but all 5 people said they either strongly approve or approve of it being on the south side. So that was really interesting. A couple comments and suggestions. People wanted to know, how they're concerned about how the sidewalk would go through the north side, especially during in some parking spaces specifically. Out of the 5 people, 1 person rents and 4 people owns their residence. 1 person lived on the north side, and then 4 people lived on the south side. So 4 people live on the south side, and also all 5 people want it on the south side. So that's really interesting. It's not people living on the north side and wanting it on the south side. It's people on the south side wanting it in their own property. So that's also interesting. And then after this meeting, we're going to take this video, resend out letters, make sure after this, anyone has any more feedback or questions or opinions, we can get that and then return it to council.
Good.
Yeah. Good.
And
Thanks, Whitney.
Whitney, so and if they all know Mike, I own the 2 vacant lots that are on the south side between Shawnee on 82nd Street, Shawnee West to the alley. And I intend to build 3 duplexes there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was one of those guys that voted yes.
Oh, perfect.
So Dave, this I'm showing it on the screen now. It's this property here. There's a couple of parcels there.
Yeah, and and what at first was a little concern was the tree removal, but then one of them's dead for sure, and the others are just kind of gangly enough that it's probably, if I'm building new, I should just put in some newer planting materials. Yeah, that's got to go. There you go. Yeah, that's probably the best tree there, but it's still, I think it's a maple, one of those silverleaf maples. They kind of get like that one is for sure. Yeah, they don't grow well at that height. So
Well, good. I think we'd like to turn it over now to Jason to go ahead and give us kind of a block by block, play by play of the concept drawings. And Whitney, these concept drawings were provided to the residents then? Is that right? You're muted.
Thanks. Are they the same ones, Brad, or have they been changed at all?
No, they have not. They were the same that we provided earlier on.
Yep, then these were provided to both residents and owners of those properties.
But this isn't the enhanced ones, the exhibits. Did we have some enhanced exhibits that came later?
If they were these ones that were with the color, then they were the same. I just added the typical sections to the plans at the same time. So everything was kind of on one sheet.
Okay.
Had my contact information down there as well as Brad's contact.
And then I removed some of the tiny details just so it didn't get lost in the small images, but yes, they are the same picture.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and start there on the west end at Ottawa Street and then move my way east. And so for this first block here, I'll just start with the north side. We looked at a offset sidewalk, 5-foot sidewalk, offset from the road a little bit. And some of the challenges that we did see with this this concept on the north side was the utility poles and the amount of grading that would have to be required behind the sidewalk into the yards. That's one of the options there. And then as we move forward to the west side or the east side, we brought the sidewalk in adjacent to the street to help prevent the amount of grading and then the utility poles there at that corner as well. On the south side, we again proposed an offset sidewalk from the road, 5 foot wide. And again, we would have utility poles. There is a tree there on the very eastern end of that block that may or may not have to come out. Most likely the construction activities would be within the root zone of that tree. And we can try to prevent that tree removal as we move forward with design as well. One of the other concerns on the south side is the underground utilities, the gas line in particular, and telephone on this block is being underground and may or may not need to be relocated as we proceed with design.
And so Jason, I might point out to anybody listening that so far for this concept study that we have done, we were using LiDAR information for contours and topography. We have not yet gone out and done full-blown topography. So when we talk about wall heights and things like that, we're kind of still estimating what some of that might be. And then once we have chosen a site, or once you've gotten feedback from the public and you take that to council and a site is chosen, then we'll go out and get final topography. But we have not done that yet. So I just kind of wanted to point out.
Yes, thank you, Bob. Still in the concept phases. We'll go ahead and move on to the next block. On this block from Peoria to Wea, on the north side, we proposed to just show the sidewalk adjacent to the street due to the utility poles being a little bit further off the street and not have to relocate those necessarily. But another concern would also be, again, how much grading the front yards of these residences would have to be done after the sidewalk. Then on the south side here, we showed the sidewalk also being adjacent to the street after crossing Peoria. And again, the red X's on the display are possible tree removals due to the construction activities being in that root zone of those trees. There's also may be possible for a retaining wall in this area, just depending on what that final topography looks like after that is acquired. And then again, the underground utilities, and especially in this block, the gas line and the amount of clearance necessary for that with the sidewalk. Continuing to move to the east from Wea to Shawnee. On the north side, we started the sidewalk adjacent to the road, and then again moved it off the road, and then kind of curved around some of the utilities towards the eastern end near Shawnee. The air release vault is there, and then also to help try to miss some of the utility poles that are out there as well.
And one of the challenges here is at the western end with the apartment complex there.
Correct, and the parking there, and the amount of space in there to safely move pedestrians along the sidewalk, but as well as allow parking for that resident on that corner.
And that is one of the questions we had, I think, on the survey was how are you going to handle that sidewalk through that parking area? And so the answer typically is you do extend the sidewalk. You remove whatever parking as or pavement is there, extend the sidewalk. You probably thicken that sidewalk up to at least
Correct.
6 inches. Might put some reinforcing in there. But
Yes.
the sidewalk would extend on through, and then the driveway would just butt up to it. So that would be the
Yes,
concept.
and then that would also be a challenge, even for pedestrians in future use, if that was the chosen path to proceed towards design and construction. There is you have that same fight that you see a lot in residential areas where you're parking in the sidewalk path of a driveway or whatnot, and that'll be true for the entire stretch when crossing drives. That will limit some of the parking within the residents' drives.
Yep.
So then on the south side here, from Wea to Shawnee, we showed the sidewalk being adjacent, mainly due to the topography of the hill that is there just beyond the road. So here would be a retaining wall. Again, we would need tree removal. Most likely those trees would necessarily have to be removed due to the support and the amount of excavation needed to construct a stout retaining wall that would hold up over time. And then again, in this section, we would also have utility poles, and again, the underground utility of the gas line being there pretty adjacent to where the sidewalk is proposed at. Now I will mention.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I will mention that these are still concepts. So if the option is to get the sidewalk further off the street, that would obviously be a preferred option for both safety of pedestrian traffic, bicycles, and then also for the vehicle traffic on the road as well. And that is something that we can look at, is maybe about balancing that hillside a little bit by moving that sidewalk off the road for all safety purposes.
Right. But one of the other interesting things we've noted, and I guess this was true in the previous blocks as well, is you can see on the drawings from the preliminary right-of-way drawings that we have, that it looks like there's sufficient right-of-way. But interestingly enough, normally power poles are typically put pretty close to right-of-way lines, but here it looks like they're very close in. So an awful lot of power poles are going to be impacted regardless of whether I think we're on the north side
Or
the south side.
Correct.
But we are going to have that issue as well.
So on this diagram there that you got, Mike, I'm just curious because this is my property there. That there's a turn. How do you anticipate the ending of the walls, both with the west, which would be the alley? I'm just speaking of my property, and then the east, which is right there at Shawnee. How does that like kind of wrap around and down, or
Going into the alley?
Yeah,
Going
into the alley and then up or south on Shawnee.
Yeah, we would most likely turn that 90 degrees of some sort to work with whatever drive is there. And then that retaining wall would then probably, transition out as the ground comes up or down, vice versa.
It's a pretty, it's kind of interesting, that lot. If Mike, if you were, yeah. So there's the grade difference coming up the alley, which isn't too bad. You could walk it into that hill. And then as you turn on the alley and go south on the eastern boundary. But when you get to Shawnee, look how much grade that thing drops all the way from, it's almost half the lot.
Right. So there are going to be some interesting, both in the alley we were just at and here. Obviously, as you probably know, you've got that relatively flat sidewalk that's got to cut in. And so your drive is now going to have a couple of places that are steeper than they were before in order to make that happen.
Well, I think you see, go up, Shawnee there, Mike. There was an old gravel. Yeah, let's go up there. There you go. There was an old gravel access that I don't intend to use. I have to come to the site, to the planning commission, and all of mine, I want to have access off the alley for all 3 duplexes because it just makes more sense with the grades. Like you said, steep driveways, and so I don't believe that gravel one doesn't work anyway, really.
Yeah, I
It's
think the important part really is the alley, because now, so this is this little drive, that's where the alley is.
That's the alley right there, Mike. Yeah.
So even though on this, on this diagram, the retaining wall just kind of heads straight along 82nd.
Yeah.
Obviously, this retaining wall is going to have to turn south here and tie into grade here.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make that alley, right?
Yeah.
Actually, if this aerial and the cadastral map are correct, then the alley is offset from the right of way.
Yeah, it might be a
But
little.
we don't know if
We don't worry about those little adjustments. We,
I think
Yeah.
a guy might have built a fence close to the bank, Mike, he might be in the alley easement.
yeah, it's kind of a make it work sort of a thing.
Well, this is the original plat of the city. This is where the city was started, right here.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and Dave, that's one of those options where we're showing that concept being adjacent to the road. However, we may want to shift that sidewalk further off the roadway there to kind of balance that hillside.
Yeah.
In the middle of that, where then you do have a little bit of grade down to the road, up to the sidewalk, and then beyond to help match that drive as well. So that way you don't just have a flat spot and then a really steep drive. You have a little bit more gradual, flat, and then gradual again back up in the drives.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But-
Oh, the other picture, actually, all transparent. Brad sent me the design development drawings, at least to your guys, and the hand railing on top of that wall was a question of mine.
Yeah.
It looked like you had proposed something, so.
What we are hoping to do is keep all walls 30 inches or lower
Okay.
to avoid the need for a
Handrail.
handrail if we can.
Yeah.
This might be another reason, as Jason was just talking about, splitting the difference between the two. So instead of having one 48-inch wall on one side, maybe you could do 2 24s or a 24 and a 30.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
And that'll become more evident on the next block, especially on the north-hand side, where the retaining wall is really going to be needed on the north portion of the project if the north side was chosen.
So we're hoping to not do any more handrails than we have to by limiting the height of the walls as much as we can.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I will mention here while we're on this sheet, we did show 2 different options, whether you have a combined sidewalk retaining wall, where it is just a straight vertical retaining wall that's about the same thickness of the sidewalk, maybe a 6-inch sidewalk and a 6-inch retaining wall thickness. But then we also showed an option of doing some sort of a gravity block wall as well, if that was an option that the city would want to pursue as well. So we're seeing more of that for more decorative, especially in more residential areas.
Yeah. I like that one better.
But I think we can go ahead and move on to the next block, the final block then from Shawnee to Delaware. On the north side here, we had to hold the sidewalk adjacent because of the amount of fall on the north. And then this is where the retaining wall would need to be below the sidewalk. And in this case, you would have to have a hand railing as that max height, I think will exceed the 30-inch maximum, just from eyes on the site myself. But like Bob had mentioned, all of our estimates now are based on just public information, LiDAR topography. And then once the site has been chosen, then we'll come out with our actual survey crews and get real topography for that time.
But that side does really drop off
Yeah.
through that half block there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's. Too far?
yeah, just a little bit back there.
Okay.
Yeah, right
So
through
it
there.
becomes quite a bit steep there. And then this is a good option to show. You can see the inlet just downstream or just down the road there a little bit. And we would just tie the sidewalk in probably to that inlet top as well. Again, the tree removal here will become an issue. The amount of grading into the yards, again, will become an issue on the north side. The utility poles, and then at the end of the project, with the sidewalk already being on the south side east of Delaware, we would have to create some sort of a crossing of 82nd Street to then meet up with the sidewalk there, the existing sidewalk along Delaware on the south side.
Mm.
Then on the south side, again, we showed the sidewalk adjacent to the street due to the hill that is there existing, and then a retaining wall again, similar to what the last block was, and then the same obstacles we're running into with utility poles and then the underground gas line on the south side.
So one of the things I don't think that we've talked yet about, and it could be a design issue, and Dave, you brought it up at your place, is at the half blocks with the alleys, whether there are or aren't alleys, I can't remember in each case. Are we definitely going to make accommodations? Are there alleys in each one of those now?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay, so we would have to make accommodations just like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And we didn't show that in the concept, we just showed it going straight through.
This is, yeah, here's the alley.
Yeah, so we would obviously need,
That right there.
in all likelihood, as we talked about, turn the retaining walls 90 until we can go back in and catch up.
But then again, as I mentioned, with the information we have available at this time, I think even seeing it on site, that the opportunity to shift that sidewalk off the road a little bit to balance that slope would probably be the best option, even if it is 2-3 feet off the roadway, to help reduce the amount of retaining wall needed and the amount of grading that would be required behind the sidewalks.
And honestly, it's just a little bit safer from a pedestrian standpoint to have a little bit of buffer.
Yes.
Want to move on to costs?
Yes. So we proposed two cost estimates, construction cost estimates for the north side and the south side, breaking out the items that we feel that would most likely be needed. On the north side here, we did have much less retaining wall than what was on the south side. However, we do have the handrail and the steel needed for that. And this cost, as you can see, we're estimated at about $166,000 for the north side. On the south side here, we don't have the handrail. However, with the excavation needed for the retaining wall and the additional retaining wall needed here on the south side, I think is about an additional 100 and wrote it down. I can't find it.
A little over 30,000 difference, not quite 30, yeah. 28.
Yeah, so with the additional amount of retaining walls on the south side and the thicker sidewalk most likely needed if we're doing a combined sidewalk and retaining wall option, we're about $194,000. And as I mentioned, this is still a concept, and as a site is chosen, we will not only look for the best option for design and cost savings for the city as well.
All right. Well, that's the presentation. Brad, was there anything else on the agenda?
No, unless Dave is our sole participant. You've got any additional comments?
We've covered my questions, so yeah, that's good. Good deal. So Mike, you think Well, what construction documents come out, bid it out, maybe late spring, early summer, and get it done in the fall or something?
Late spring sounds maybe early spring for construction documents.
That's probably a little optimistic
Yeah.
once we talk about, bid announcement period and
Yeah.
getting contracts underway. I would say late spring or early summer is a more realistic
Okay.
expectation.
Then summertime construction.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Are the utility costs, now I'm getting out of line, but the utility costs in your estimate, the relocation costs?
No, we are assuming that those are franchise utilities. So,
They are, unless, there's any city water lines or meters to reset.
right. And so far from the information we've seen, we're just thinking it's going to be the power poles
Yeah.
and the gas line.
Yeah,
But
and-
again, when we get topo, we might.
Yeah. And everything's in the right of way, so we're covered under the franchise for that.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Okay.
However, so as soon as we've presented these options and the council selects a side of the road to be on, we are going to want to, be in touch with those utility
Yeah.
companies to let them know that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because
It's,
that could delay
Sure.
things.
It's an expensive stretch of sidewalk, and I think we're finding out why it's not there already. Not that you can't look and tell, oh, this is going to be a bear to get in there, but yeah, these are the things. These are the reasons why it hasn't been built yet. So
Well, Mike, but you're opening Pandora's box, because once you get to Ottawa and you're trying to link up to the Riverfest, that there's a nice
Well,
interesting project.
Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you brought it up, because that's in our CIP for 2022. We're going to be designing that next year.
All right.
Ottawa Street from 82nd down to Riverfest Park, complete reconstruction, blow up the whole world. New boulevard type sidewalks, both sides, fantastic street lights, streamers and fireworks and confetti.
Well, how much?
We think that's going to be around $1.5 million.
Are they going to make it a quiet zone? Can you make it a quiet zone in that?
That's a possibility.
Yeah, if you're going to blow that thing out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to say that I was the reason that there is a Riverfest park down there.
Yeah, you are. You went and bought an old defunct sand plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
that's
vision.
a good deal.
Well, at the time, some people scratched their heads about it, but I don't think anybody's doing that anymore. It's a great
No,
facility. Yeah.
It's
it'll be
well
nice.
used.
It'll be nice to have a connection, but
Yeah.
I have chatted with Brad and we've looked at it. I've looked at it before and Jason and I looked at it again today, and it's going to be a challenge getting across the railroads and the river or the creek there.
Yeah. Another one of those stories why we know why it hasn't been done yet.
It's very narrow.
We're chasing money on it. We got $500,000 from KDOT earlier this year, and the Johnson County SMAC, we're looking at getting a couple $100,000 from Johnson County SMAC to do the drainage pipes down there. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's full steam ahead on that one. That's a big one.
Cool. Very good. Well, I have no questions. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you very much, sole participant. You win the award. Your check's in the mail.
Well, Mike and Brad and Whitney, thank you very much. And guys, did a good job.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Dave.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
wrap it up and conclude our meeting here.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.